Welcome to Seminar Sunday, District 21's weekly episodic webinar series. My name is Michael Bound. I'm the Program Quality Director for District 21 and will be your host for the discussion this evening. Today we are covering off 1 year. Are you on track for the Distinguished Toastmaster Award? As you hopefully know, the traditional Toastmasters program is being phased out and will be eliminated after June 30th, 2020. So folks that are interested in getting either the first or additional Distinguished Toastmaster Awards will need to ensure they complete all requirements prior to June 30th, 2020. Before we dive into it, I want to thank you for a year of sharing and growth that we've all experienced during these webinars. It has been a lot of fun, and each week we have done our best to provide some sort of quality messaging that supports you in leadership development as well as club development. So thank you very much for your participation, and of course this evening you're welcome to chime in as you see fit as well with different parts of the conversation and ask questions. We want to make sure that everybody that joins us has an opportunity to ask any questions that they may have about the topic at hand. What we're going to talk about today is three things. We're going to refresh ourselves on the steps to complete the communication and leadership tracks. We're going to talk about strategies for completing the program on or before June 30th, 2020, and we can talk about individual plans to make it happen if there's some folks on the line that are interested in potentially completing the whole program. I mean, you could either race through it magically in a year, or hopefully you're somewhere along already and we can kind of just get some ideas how you could polish it off in the next 12 months from today's date. The Toastmasters program has dated back quite some time. The first manual here was the basic training manual that was actually designed by Ralph C. Smedley, and it's remained quite the same actually over the years until the Pathways introduction. By quite the same, I certainly don't mean that everything is as it was when that original basic training manual came out, but it was a similar structure. The basic training manual had some projects in it that were very, very similar to what we saw in the Competent Communicator manual. So the Pathways program is a total revolution to the way we have completed our communication and leadership development since the beginning. So this is just some background that I thought would be kind of fun to throw in there, that the basic training and all the way through, you know, you'll see people that will achieve the Competent Toastmaster Award quite a number of years ago now, and of course it's been Competent Communicator for a while. And same on the leadership side, you'll actually see that some people may still have the old Competent Leadership designation, which is the equivalent to the Advanced Leader Bronze, as a matter of fact. So just some fun background to throw out there. But this was now what we know as the traditional program. When members signed up prior to March 20th of 2018, they were issued these manuals. Quite often what I know a lot of clubs did actually was they would actually give these to members right away, and then members would get their copies in the mail a couple of weeks later, and they would do an exchange with the club, and that way the club always had an extra set and could issue to new members immediately on the spot once they've joined. So these manuals, for those of you that have been around for a little bit of time, will be very near and dear to your heart, and something that you will very much remember seeing new members getting copies of these two manuals. Unfortunately, we didn't see as much uptake in the red one, the Competent Leadership, as would have been nice to see. I certainly remember going to a number of clubs and not seeing any sign of anybody having one of the red ones, but the blue one in particular, the Competent Communication, was something that was very widespread. Everybody would have one of those and start off with their journey there. So that is kind of what's evaporating, I guess you could call it, as of June 30th, 2020. So we've evolved from tracks to paths, And this is what the tracks look like. So there was the 2 tracks, and I know a lot of people would actually try to explain this to new members, and it is a bit of a challenging diagram, I suppose, but the official diagram nevertheless of how you would achieve the Distinguished Toastmaster Award in the traditional program. So some people didn't understand that you would need to complete both, and that is the first perhaps myth busting we can do on this call here. Is you do need to complete both. You need to complete the full communication and leadership track in order to get to the end result there, the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. It's very unfortunate. We've seen a couple people over the years that have misinterpreted and thought that, oh, well, you can pick one, and when you get to the end of one, you become a Distinguished Toastmaster. That's not the case at all. So you do need to go from the communication track, competent communicator, all the way to advanced communicator gold. And then, of course, on the leadership track, you need to get your competent leadership and competent communicator in order to get the advanced leader bronze and the advanced leader silver. Once you have the advanced leader silver, advanced communicator gold, you can get the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. Point here, though, is they are separate awards. So some people, I think, misinterpret the advanced leader silver and advanced leader gold is automatically rolling into a Distinguished Toastmaster Award. That's not how it worked. You needed to apply for, let's say you got both those awards at the exact same time, you would actually do 3 awards applications, with the final award application, of course, being the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. Benefit there is, let's say you were sitting at advanced communicator silver and advanced leader bronze. When you get those 3 awards, they will count 3 times for 3 different distinguished club goals, assuming you didn't have those goals filled already with other awards. So it's actually really quite the incredible impact on a club if a member achieves the Distinguished Toastmaster designation, because it often is at least 2 awards, if not 3, all in one go, all counting for a goal individually. Any questions about that thus far?
Hey, Michael, Sean, didn't you also get the Leadership Excellence from doing your HBL? Wasn't that also tied to it? So you get a separate award for that as well for the club?
Yeah, so we can talk about that in a little bit later in the call, but there is that is one of the requirements to get the Advanced Leader Silver, is you do have to complete the Leadership Excellence Award. That award is it's a bit of an interesting award, actually, because you don't have any credit in terms of your club's distinguished status for completing that award. It's just one of those awards that it's actually the most challenging award to get in the traditional program, because it's the only one you can apply for online. It must be sent in to Toastmasters International. They don't advertise this, by the way, but you can actually scan and email it in to their education awards area. I think the application itself just says fax or mail, but of course that slows down things dramatically. So if you're able to scan it and forward it in, then that is the best case scenario. So thanks for asking about that, Sean. We'll touch on it again when we get to Advanced Leader Silver. It's not part of the Advanced Leadership Silver program, but it's very much linked at the hip there, I think. All right. So this was the communication track, and we'll walk through exactly what that meant in just a moment. The basis of it, of course, was you start with that competent communication manual. That was everyone's beginning in the program. And then you would move on, once you completed 10 speeches in there, to the advanced communicator manuals. And there was 15 of them to select from, which they're all pictured here on the screen, based on your topic of interest. To actually complete the communication program, you would need to complete the competent communicator manual in addition to 6 of the advanced communicator manuals. So you would take 6 out of 15, which is nice, because then you really do get to pick what's of interest to you. So there's things, everything from being, practicing to be a professional speaker, technical, there's public relations, there was persuasive, There was, what else was there? Boy, there was humorous. That was a really popular one. Facilitating discussion, special occasion speeches, all kinds of different things. Storytelling was another one I remember a lot of people doing. So there was topics much like what you get in Pathways now. There were these 15 vastly different kind of topics, and each one of these manuals as well included 5 projects. So they were half the length of the Competent Communicator, which is why you would complete 6 of them in order to get all the way to the Advanced Communicator Gold, plus some other things that we'll talk about in just a moment. So level 1 and level 2 as well. I'm switching to levels, I'm sorry. Competent Communicator and Advanced Communicator Bronze. It was just a matter of doing 10 speeches for each of those awards. The Competent Communicator simply needed 10 speeches, full stop, and that was it. And then what you would do is, going back to 5 speeches per manual in the advanced manuals, you would do 2 of those manuals to complete your 10 speeches. So that would give you the Advanced Communicator Bronze. So sounds relatively straightforward. It's just a matter of 20 speeches. The first 10 are on the topics of your choosing. The second 10 are as well to some degree, although you'll be given quite often some sort of circumstance, or it may be a tailored speech based on the project. So a good example would be in the special occasion speeches. One of the speeches you would be delivering is the toast. So of course that is, you could of course toast whatever you want, but the length is very short, and it's a certain type of message you're delivering, which is slightly different than most of the speeches in the Competent Communicator Manual, which was very much open, but you'd be focused on, whether it be speech structure or body language, and right until basically the end, when you're actually doing a persuasive or inspirational speech, you are just deciding whatever the topic that interests you. So depending on what type of person you are, you may find the Competent Communicator easier or more challenging than the Advanced Communicator Bronze. But certainly the projects do get a little bit more diverse and specific once you get to that Advanced Communicator Bronze stage. Moving on to the Advanced Communicator Silver. So what you would do is you would complete an additional 2 advanced manuals. Then, so that's 10 speeches. And then the other requirement is 2 education sessions from the Successful Club series or the Better Speaker series. And those are available from the Toastmasters.org website, completely free of charge. You can download. There's usually a little bit of a workbook, which includes your evaluation form and a PowerPoint. Generally speaking, these sessions are tailored to be done in as quick as 10 to 15 minutes. So they're not terribly large-scale projects. They're meant to certainly fill a little bit more than a speaking spot on a standard agenda, so to speak. And of course, if you're part of a club that has the gift of a fair amount of time, it's nice to include these, not just because of the education award perspective, but the fact that they are good information for us as Toastmasters. In fact, I would suggest, even if you have transitioned completely to the Pathways side of things, you can still deliver these educational sessions in your club, because they are still helpful information, and at this point they have not been phased out, and I don't know necessarily what they plan to do, because the content is still very valuable. It's just a matter of figuring out how things could work going forward. Any questions about Advanced Communicator Silver? Boy, what a quiet group. And finally, Advanced Communicator Gold. This is the ultimate stage in your communication journey through the traditional program. An additional 10 speeches, so another 2 advanced manuals. That's pretty standard no matter which award you're working towards. There's 10 speeches involved. That means by the time you're done, you've completed 40 manual speeches. Then you're going to do 1 education session from the Success Communication or Success Leadership program or youth leadership, or speechcraft. There's a whole lot of ors there. So let's break that down. Success communication and success leadership. These are a series of programs that, generally speaking, are several hour length workshops that you would run. So perhaps you'd do that as with your club. Perhaps you'd make it a special event where you bring in people from other clubs, or even run it at some sort of community center and just get, welcome all clubs in the city. Whatever works for you. So these are kind of large scale, and they require ordering products from Toastmasters International. To the best of my knowledge, they're still carrying all of the different projects that you could do out of these, and they are, I want to suggest, around $35–40 US, generally speaking, for the full set. The other option is you run a youth leadership program, so that would be a short version of, well, almost like a speechcraft, which I'll explain in just a moment, but for youth. So it's a chance for youth to get together and do a short Toastmasters program. They're not forming a permanent, like a gavel club or anything like that. A gavel club would be something that's just continuing, just like a Toastmasters club. But for those youth, the youth leadership program is there's a curriculum that you can order, once again, from Toastmasters International, and it could be a good way to potentially recruit some parents into your club, or eventually the youth, if they become 18 years of age, they may join Toastmasters. And then finally, the speechcraft, which is more focused on either one of two things. Number one is starting a new club, and number two is getting some new members for your club. I know of some clubs that do this on a somewhat regular basis, and what they find is they run this program for either 4, 6, or 8 weeks, and you have these participants register for the program. They pay a fee to join. In fact, one of them, they run it out of a recreation center. So the fee that the participant pays, half of it goes to the rec center, and that covers off the meeting room rental, and half of it goes to the Toastmasters Club. So it's actually a really good arrangement, because there's essentially no risk. You don't have to pay any rental fees up front. You're just simply getting half of whatever. You're actually getting what you want. The participants are just being charged essentially double what you're looking for. And that will cover off the program cost. And some clubs use it as a little bit of a fundraiser, which I don't know exactly where the line is there for how much of that you can use for fundraising and how much should really be used just for the cost. Obviously, you want to make sure it's of value to the participants and not out of their price range. But what they do is essentially they start the traditional program, more or less. They do an icebreaker, and then they do the first couple of speeches, and that way they get a quick crash course basically on public speaking. Like, there's an educational session each time they gather. The conversion rate can be decent. Depends, of course, on your luck with the participant group and how well run the speechcraft is and everything, but you may be able to actually use that to move members into your club. So you can actually check 2 boxes here in a way for Advanced Communicator Gold. You can 3 actually. Let's up it to 3. Number 1, of course, is you're going to complete Advanced Communicator Gold by running a speechcraft. Number 2, you're really going to help out your club big time. And number 3, you could use this as a high performance leadership project, for example, if you wanted to, and really make it something really special for yourself as an experience, as well as for your club. And then the final bit is mentor a new member for their first 3 speeches. So anybody that joins your club, if you just support them for their first 3 speeches, that will get you that portion of the credit. As you can see from the communication track, it's probably the most, this is probably the most complicated one to get, the Advanced Communicator Gold. Still not terribly complicated. It's just that extra step in the middle there that's just a little bit complicated to understand. But as you can see, it's not too bad. It's more or less just doing a larger scale communication project. And any questions on Advanced Communicator Gold? Maybe Mr. Gold, do you have a question?
I'm trying to think of a question. I actually have some good experience with that because I was able to do something for work and
Mhm.
use the opportunity for the for one of the successful leadership program. Use that for my work thing, so I was able to train some of my staff in a specific area, and it was a really good workshop. So it was very positive and supportive, and it helped me achieve a goal.
Mm. And the award was even named after you.
It was, well, I'm not sure if it was definitely named after me, but it sounded like it was.
Yeah. Or maybe you were named after the award. One of the two.
Sure, let's go with that.
All right. So that is your communication track. Any other questions from the folks joining us today? Okay. Leadership. And there's that high performance leadership manual as well as the competent leadership manual. Those are the only two formal manuals you would have in the leadership track, so to speak. There are other manuals that you may use in support of things that you do in the leadership track, but these are the only two that you need to actually complete in order to successfully complete the leadership track. Makes it look really easy, right? Well, we're going to dive into it in just a moment. I certainly would never say any of this is challenging. It's just a matter of the steps, making sure that you know which steps you need to take and at what time. And the first stop on anyone's journey in the leadership program, from the traditional program at least, is completing 10 leadership projects serving the club in roles or organizing events, etc. Now, why this is the 10 projects is it's 10 different leadership skills that you would develop through the program, and each of them has a write-up in this manual, followed by evaluations for completing certain roles that are relevant to that skill set that you're looking to develop. So there was things like time management, listening skills, team building, all those, motivating and mentoring, all those different skills that are essential for a leader to have were rolled up into that and then applied to most often roles in your club. So you may need to be Toastmaster, you may need to be general evaluator, etc. On the other side of it, there was organizing events. So the organizing of events would be things like chairing a speech contest. You could help out with the club newsletter, club website, little things like that, that you're getting yourself involved in different club activities or in roles in the club. And then, of course, mentoring someone was also a piece. That was project number 9 in this manual, actually. You would either mentor a new member, an existing member for 3 speeches, or you could also serve on a high performance leadership guidance committee, which we'll get into in just a moment. So those are kind of the general things that you would complete. So it's kind of an interesting translation from the Competent Communicator, which is also 10 projects, and it's kind of structured speeches. This is 10 projects structured based on evaluations you receive for any type of leadership role you're taking in the club. And a lot of people won't perceive them necessarily as leadership roles, but absolutely, when you are a general evaluator, that is a big leadership role you're taking. And same with a speech evaluator, frankly, because you're evaluating an individual and you're helping raise them up, and you have that ability to drop them, so figuratively as well, if you're not able to deliver an effective evaluation. So getting evaluated on your evaluation is actually going to be a huge benefit. All right, then there came Advanced Leader Bronze. And to be completely honest, I've went through the traditional program completely twice. I finished 2 DTMs and enjoyed it a lot. I found this award to be the easiest. Now, why I want to offer a disclaimer there, because it sounds like, what do you mean this is easy? No, I think because I enjoyed doing the things anyways, and I was going to do the things even if I wasn't getting credit for it necessarily. So that's why I personally found it easy. If you have no desire in the world to ever be a club officer, then this would probably be the hardest award for you to gain, because what it is once you've completed all those roles in your meeting and everything, you've got comfortable with that. Well, now, hey, why don't you serve your club? So you're serving as a club officer, and while you do that, you're doing two important tasks. One of them is you're attending district-sponsored training during your service as a club officer, and the other one is you're completing a club success plan, or CSP, while serving in the position. So those were the requirements surrounding serving as a club officer. You needed to serve 6 months. So it's important to know that you did not need to serve a full year. If you are a club that has, twice a year elections, that was fine. You'd be able to serve January 1st to June 30th or July 1st to December 31st. You couldn't do a mix of the two. It had to be either of those terms, but 6 months was all that was required. And then from there, it was just like the Advanced Communicator Silver, 2 educational sessions, only this time it's from either the Leadership Excellence series or the Successful Club series. So once again, just to recap, those are 10 to 15 minute long presentations, and they are available for free download on the Toastmasters.org website. What you will want to note here, though, which is different, both of those projects, the Advanced Communicator Silver and the Advanced Leader Bronze, allow you to do 2 of the Successful Club series. They are different for the other series, though. The Advanced Leader Bronze is the Leadership Excellence series. The Advanced Communicator Silver is the Better Speaker series. So just make sure to make a note of that if you're ever planning out what educational sessions you're going to do and you're intending to apply them to a certain award. Both will accept the Successful Club series, but if you want to do the Leadership Excellence series, it must be for the Leadership Bronze. And if you want to do the Better Speaker series, it must be for the Advanced Communicator Silver. Advanced Leader Silver. So here is, and I know a lot of people find this a little more challenging as well. And I don't know, I find this maybe the most fun now as well. I just said that, probably that almost the exact same phrase as well with the Advanced Leader Bronze. But in all seriousness, the Advanced Leadership Silver, really cool because you serve 1 year as a district officer. So that is July 1st to June 30th. You serve as a club mentor, sponsor, or coach. And that's also a great opportunity to either start a new club and be involved, or support a club that has fallen on some challenging times. And I'll come back to that in a second. I just want to cover the third point, which is completing a high performance leadership program. That's what Sean was referencing earlier. The manual is just in the right corner of the screen. So it is called the High Performance Leadership Program, and what you get when you complete it is actually called the Leadership Excellence Award. So it's one of the, I guess you could call it curious bits of our program, that the program you go through is called High Performance Leadership, but the award you get is Leadership Excellence. So let's jump back up just for a moment here to the club mentor, sponsor, or coach. So a club sponsor, that's someone that, sponsor is a little bit of an interesting term because I think a lot of people connect it with a financial effect. It has nothing to do with finances. What it is, I mean, it could, I guess, but design is not anything to do with the finances. It is the individual or individuals, that can be 2, who support a new club in its creation through to the point where it charters. So usually what that means is you would help set up the demonstration meeting, promote, and have that demo meeting, be there for the demo meeting, fill out the relevant paperwork that needs to be submitted to World Headquarters to start the club, submit it, and then more or less the last thing the sponsors will do is they'll plan a charter party, a charter celebration. Once that is done, the sponsor's role is actually officially, according to the manual, it's done. So hopefully the sponsors will want to continue and support the club for the first little while, as clubs need a lot of support for their first year or two of existence while they figure out what the program is and everything. But officially, that is the end of the sponsor's role when they've had that celebration of the successful charter for the club. What happens after that, though, is the club mentor. So as soon as the club charters, club mentor or mentors, there could be two again, 2 is the magic number with all 3 of these actually. The club mentor takes over and they serve for anywhere between 6 and 12 months. Now, why that's such a loose definition is that's what Toastmasters International says. And the way they get credit is the club president, the charter club president, signs a letter that they receive in the mail confirming that they have served as the club mentor. So they are relying on that president sign off. And I guess that's at a mutually agreeable time frame, so to speak. There's not a lot that you can do. Hopefully after 6 months, they're willing to sign off. But at the same time, again, with the sponsor, same idea. The longer you can stick around, the better, because once again, you're seeing people's lives transformed in that brand new club. And it would be such a shame if the support that goes into that new club disappears as quick as they can, because it's very likely then that the club would crash and burn. They really need that support for at least a year, I'd suggest, in order to really be successful. Unless it's an advanced club, maybe then you have a little bit more leeway because they have an idea what they're doing. But with a brand new club, generally speaking, you really want to make sure that the sponsor and mentor, if you're serving in those roles, are serving as long as they can. Now, club coach, that's a little different. The club coach is a role that goes into a club that is or has fallen upon some sort of hard time. And that can be just as simple as, they've went through a tough couple of months and now they're down to 12 members. They could be down to as little as 1 member. But regardless where they are in that spectrum, the idea is the coach or coaches are going to go into that club and kind of coach them along, support them along. I guess you could say in some ways mentor them along. It's a different terminology, but you're trying to go in and help them be independently, successfully sustainable club. And the measurement is different here. With the sponsor and mentor, the charter club president will sign off on your paperwork. For a club coach to be deemed successful, they need to get that club to distinguished status by June 30th of a program year. Of course, in this case, if you're trying to finish up the traditional program, you would want to get that club distinguished absolutely by June 30th, 2020, or you've missed the opportunity completely. So something just to watch carefully. It's of course possible to get a club distinguished as early as April once you've submitted those dues renewals for ample amounts of members that are required to switch the club to distinguished status, and it can be any level of distinguished. So it's totally okay if you get distinguished, select, or president's distinguished. So that is the role of a club coach. All 3 of them are really interesting roles, obviously very different skill sets that you would develop in each one of those. Sponsoring would of course be much of a kind of almost like a sales role in many ways, where you're trying to sell people on the idea of starting this new club and celebrating the success afterwards. The club mentor is more about really kind of helping people that are likely keen, they just don't know what they need to do or how to do things. And club coach, most of the time in my experience, these are clubs that they've kind of lost a lot of their wind, so to speak, because maybe they've been doing the roles for year after year, and now they've whittled down to limited members, and it's become a little bit challenging for them. So very different skill sets that you would develop in these 3 positions. And then going back to that high performance leadership program, this is it's an interesting program where you actually study how to make a kind of a project plan and all these aspects when it comes to leadership. You build a team, and generally speaking, separate from your team is a guidance committee. So this is a group of people. They also have manuals that look much like this. And what they do is basically question you throughout the project on how things are going, and try to help coach you through whatever the project is. The cool thing about it is the project can be on anything you want. It can be on starting a new club. It could be on being a district officer. You want to reach distinguished status as an area director, for example. So it's a matter of putting a project plan together. You get people in to help you with it, and away you go. So there's a whole range of things, and it can also be outside of Toastmasters. So if you want, you could go to a high performance leadership project in the community or at your church or wherever it happens to be. That's totally fine. The only caveat is you'd want Toastmasters to be your guidance committee, because they also need to actually sign off. And going back to what I said earlier, this is the only award that actually needs to be sent to Toastmasters International. So there's a couple of things they want to see. They want to see your award application, which includes, I believe that's the page that includes the sign off for at least 2 of your guidance committee members. And they want to also see your speech evaluation. So there's 2 speeches you do. The first speech at your club is basically an introduction to what your project's going to be. Again, it can be any size. It can be, this massive undertaking. There's a book actually I have somewhere around the house here. Somebody in Australia did one on writing a book on artistic Toastmasters. So that was their project, quite a large undertaking. And like I said, I've got a copy here at my home of that book, of this person that made this book in Australia. Or it could be something relatively small. You're putting together a division speech contest, for example. I don't know, just making up some things as we go along for what you could do. And of course, the bigger scale, the more you're going to grow, but there are no minimum or maximum criteria to it per se. So that is the high performance leadership. Now, I wonder if anybody has any questions on this Advanced Leadership Silver, as it's a little bit of a bigger undertaking than the other awards we've perhaps seen.
I found it to be one of the more challenging ones. Yeah, especially when, this is Sean, especially if you're doing the club coach one. A club sponsor is relatively easy, although you have to identify an opportunity, and a club mentor is a tough one because of the amount of time, but at least it has an end date, and as long as you're doing a reasonable job. But the coach one, that one's a big challenge. If you don't, if your club is not successful, you don't get credit.
Absolutely. That's definitely a challenge. So what I would suggest, though, Sean.
Jan is just raising her hand. Yeah.
Oh. Jan put up her hand.
Yeah. If I can make a comment about it.
Sure.
For me, high performance leadership projects really taught me what it means to be a leader in a project, because you study that as part of the essence of what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have anything else to add to that, Jan?
No. I just say it's
yeah,
something that I'm glad is still in the Pathways program in several places. It's highly worthwhile to add a thoughtful process to activities we take part in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, just to kind of tag on what you and Sean have said, the Advanced Leadership Silver is, I would agree, is probably the most challenging award to earn in the traditional program, because they're, of course, district officer term of 1 year. Well, that does involve some sort of level of commitment, and it's a whole year as well. And club mentor, sponsor, or coach, it depends on what exactly you do. I've seen people coach clubs and they put their heart and soul into it, and unfortunately the club still didn't get distinguished. And I've seen people that have walked in as a sponsor to an organization that wants to start a club. One meeting, they're in and out and they're done. So it's completely, I guess, depends on your luck, so to speak, in some ways, and also just which path, figuratively speaking, you travel down. But I would also suggest that as much as this may be the most challenging level, I'd suggest it's also the most rewarding, because you gain so much leadership skill out of this particular Advanced Leadership Silver Education Award level. Would you guys agree with that?
I definitely would, yes.
Good, because I'd fire you if you didn't.
I think Jan was saying the same thing, but she just went off mute. So Jan, do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a cool place to be doing this stuff. So what it boils down to, I kind of rolled this up into, well, what the heck does that look like when we're talking about all these different awards, communication, and leadership? It means 40 prepared speeches. It means 4, I call them short educational sessions, because they're generally 10 to 15 minutes. It involves mentoring 2 people, one of which who is brand new, one of which could be an existing member or an HPL guidance committee. Serving your club and beyond, that's the district as well. That could be area director, that could be district director, it could be anywhere in between. Starting or supporting a club, and taking on meeting roles and some other projects within the club or beyond. And that or beyond goes on to things like your high performance leadership. So that's really what you get when you go through the traditional program from beginning to end, rolled up into what looks like an easy couple of points. Certainly it's, I think the average person probably took, I don't know, I'd like to suggest 6-8 years to complete all of this. I know of many people that have taken much longer, and I know of some people that have taken much less time. I've seen people complete the Distinguished Toastmaster Award beginning to end in probably less than a year and a half. They had no life. that was my second award. I think took me less than a year and a half. So it's possible to do in any speed. You can do it. I mean, the most important thing, and this is somewhere that we always have to remind ourselves, is getting something out of this for yourself. It's not about just checking the boxes and getting through the program, although I say that realizing that folks have 1 more year to complete this. But it's about more than that. It's about gaining skills, and I'm sure whatever speed you go through it, you will gain skills. But really, especially areas that you'd like to develop, spend your time there and enjoy the journey, just as long as you'll finish it off by June 30th, 2020, and get the credit you deserve for everything. That's the main thing. For Sean and Jan, I know you both have Distinguished Toastmaster Awards already. I'd encourage you to try 1 more of these before June 30th, 2020.
I'm already working on my Pathways DTM.
Oh, really?
I'm halfway there, buddy.
Okay. So that's what it boils down to. And the secret I wanted to share with everyone is you don't have to do it in that specific order. You do need to apply for the awards in that order. But one of the strategies I used, and like I said, my first Distinguished Toastmaster Award took me about, I want to say 2 years, and my second took me, is just kind of doing things as they come up. So, for example, you don't need to start as a club officer after you finish the Competent Leadership Award. If you get invited to be an officer of your club earlier than you finish that manual, great. Just, if you want to, of course, join the executive and help your club be a better place. And while you're in that role, maybe you take on some sort of major project for your club and use that as an HPL. All of that is okay. And in fact, the HPL, going back to that, is a separate award than the advanced communicator, or the advanced leader silver rather. You need to apply for it in order to get your advanced leadership silver, but they're not the same award. So just something to think about is you can kind of mix and match, or if an opportunity came up for you to do your education sessions now and you haven't done the speeches for those different educational awards, that's okay as well. You can do the education sessions first, or vice versa. So keep that in mind when you're planning on your journey. Couple of suggestions I have for ways you could efficientize, making up new words here, your educational awards via those sessions and speeches. Remember, you can do up to 2 speeches per manual at another club. It's a great opportunity to see if a nearby club can fit you into their agenda to help you wrap up your speeches. I know I certainly did that. I had to get, I think it was less than a month, I had to finish an advanced communicator at one point because I think my club needed the goal. It's bad. Maybe that's not the best reason, but that was what it was anyways. And I went out, first I spoke as much as I could at my club, but I actually went to a couple of clubs. I think I went to 4 different clubs to do 2 speeches from each manual in those 2 advanced manuals I needed completed. Oftentimes there are some neighboring clubs that would love to have a guest speaker. If obviously you don't want to contact a club that's got 40 or 50 members, but if there's a club that has less speakers than they have room for on the agenda, they'd probably love to hear you. If you're a district officer, it's a good chance to share within with the clubs in your area or division. I think a lot of area directors, for example, don't necessarily talk to their club and say, the clubs in their area, and say, hey, I'm coming in and I want to give a speech while I'm there. You certainly have that, not only that right, but really you should. It's a great chance to share some of your knowledge with the club that you're supporting as an area or division director. Just remember, you need to do 4 sessions that are 10 to 15 minutes in length. Fit them in whenever you can. Don't worry about, oh, well, I haven't finished my advanced leadership bronze, and therefore or advanced communicator bronze rather, so I shouldn't start the education session. No, absolutely not. Just go and do it if the opportunity presents itself. So that could be, again, if you're an area director, you're going in and running an education. Let's say you run a Moments of Truth for one of your clubs. What a great opportunity for that club to grow and you to get an education benefit out of it as well. So everybody wins in those types of circumstances. Can't emphasize that enough. If you worry too much about levels, I haven't done this, so therefore I can't do this, you won't get there. And it's the same thing for the manuals. What I used to do for advanced communicator levels, I'd have all 6 manuals picked out from the start, and I would just, whatever speech seemed to appeal to me at that time is what I would do. I wouldn't be like, oh, well, I must finish these 2 in order. I would just have the 6 manuals and be like, you know what, I want to work from this manual today. Next time I speak, I'm going to work from this manual. And yes, that will delay me getting the advanced communicator bronze potentially, because I won't, I'll do 10 speeches, but they'll be from multiple manuals. But by the time I finish all those manuals, I'll just all of a sudden jump up to gold potentially, or more than likely you'll finish off a couple of manuals first anyways. It's just you'll already be well into your way for the next, whether that be silver or gold or wherever you happen to be on the program. So that's a few tips. Does anybody have any other tips for the speeches? Or
I think your comment about doing things, not having to follow the specific sequence is really important. You can also do a path and pathways while you're still finishing off your legacy, because if you're working on some things that don't require a lot of speeches, go ahead and start to do some pathway stuff. Do your icebreaker, do your level 1. Big mistake, I realized this, I don't know, about a month ago, is that, what the heck am I doing? I've been having an opportunity to do speeches, and I missed an opportunity to, because I was waiting on certain things in a higher level in my path, like in level 4 and level 5, and I said, I could have been done doing level 1 in another path. The other thing is, you kind of alluded to it at giving speeches at other clubs. Join another club. It gives you, I belong to 2 clubs right now, and at times I belonged up as many as 4. And that gives you a tremendous opportunity. One club has a lot of people signing up to do speeches, so I don't even sign up for speeches there regularly. I have maybe one a month. And the other club, I can give speeches there almost every week if I wanted to. I don't push myself upon it. I try to push others to give speeches, but I get lots of stage time opportunities, so I can complete a lot, and so can you if you want to join more clubs.
That's a great tip. Thank you.
It also helps the district get their membership numbers in.
Oh, jeez. Don't do anything for the district. Do it for yourself.
Well, the bonus is you're the one who gains from it the most.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You will. Competent leadership. What I did, and I love to suggest as well, create a simple matrix, what you need in order to finish the manual. And then that's supposed to say ask your VP education to be scheduled for roles that will help you. So that's something that what I did is I went through each of the projects and said, okay, I need to be Toastmaster. I don't know, let's say it's 3 times in the manual. I need to be this many times, and just started to kind of strategize like how I could complete this portion of the manual and this one at the same time. You know, so not the same time. What's the better way to explain it? As efficiently as possible, I guess. So maybe the manual gives you an opportunity to be Toastmaster, let's say 6 times, but you only have to be 3 times, and then you could do this another time instead of being Toastmaster. So that way you can kind of make it a little bit like you're not doing all one role and waiting to be Toastmaster 6 different times. You only need to do it 3 times over the course of the manual, and then you're 3 times general evaluator, 3 times speech evaluator, whatever it happened to be. I think speech evaluator is actually the most common in the manual. But that way you are able to make sure you're not having to hog a certain role. You're getting a diverse amount of roles intentionally that's working you in the direction you want to go. And then pretty much every meeting you can be signed off for something. Now, 10 projects, I didn't cover this earlier, still requires you to do anywhere between, generally speaking, 2 to 4 roles. So it's not like 10 weeks you can be done it necessarily. I mean, you could if you're in multiple clubs and that type of thing. But generally speaking, for example, there's a time management project, which I think is project number 4, if I'm remembering correctly. You had to be timer once, and then there was a choice for the other role you would have. One of them would be Toastmaster. So you could get that one done in 2 weeks. The mentoring one is another project that's just one task. You just need to mentor somebody. So, and then finally, project 10 was interesting because you had to be Toastmaster and general evaluator, or you could, I think it's help with the club website or something along those lines. So there's ways you could get out of actually doing meeting roles for that project, and instead you're doing something else. And that's the next point here is you don't have to be on the agenda to help with the club website, with the newsletter, mentoring a new or existing member, or befriending a guest. That's one of the most fun ones, actually. Like, hey, you know, I'll go befriend a guest for credit towards my educational awards. Any other tips for competent leadership?
Carry the manual with you every meeting you go to. Make sure you have the manual with you, because there's often a chance to sign off on a role. Yeah,
I'm a little embarrassed. I've got probably 3/4 completed competent leadership, and I just took it out of my bag yesterday and put it downstairs, and I'm thinking, no, I think I should be taking it with me. And I've actually got some traditional awards that haven't been filed as well, so I should probably get on that anyways. It's my embarrassing little secret. It's no longer a secret. So
I won't tell anyone.
Yeah, there we go. So now we just got a couple of minutes left, not a lot of time at all, but is there any discussion that anybody, if you're trying to work towards your distinguished Toastmaster designation, we could always talk about some ideas or strategies for any components that you may be missing, or not. I'm happy to take any questions.
This is Celine here. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
I almost finished everything, and I have two questions. The first one is HPL. Do we send the whole book to TIA, or how do we send it? Because you said that it's a separate award. So how do we send it?
Right. So the high performance leadership, I believe they need, if I remember correctly, it's 2 pages.
Okay.
One of those pages could be double-sided, though. I'm trying to visualize it. What it is they need to see the speech evaluation. So that's 1 page. And the second page they need is there's an awards application, which will also, by the way, on that page, I'll confirm what details they do need. That shows off the signature from your guidance committee members, at least 2 of them.
Okay. And okay, go ahead.
So that's all they need. And on that application, it's got a fax number and it's got a mailing address. But you can scan the pages and email it. And I believe the email address is educationawards@toastmasters.org.
Okay.
And they manually process it. So generally speaking, it takes, let's say 5 business days, approximately.
Okay. And the 2 people in the guidance committee is enough, right?
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about this program as well, is it's a little loosey-goosey when it comes to how many people need to be involved, etc. But 2 people is what needs to sign off on the awards application. And when you order the high performance leadership kit, if you've got one kicking around, it comes with 3 manuals. So 2 to 3 seems about reasonable, but you could have more if you want more feedback.
Okay, so if I have 2, it's enough. The second question is how to get the DTM, because it is so hard. I coached the club for 1 year and they could not get it off the ground. It just, they didn't want to do it. They are so happy where they are. It is so hard. They have 12 people, they need to have 20, and they are not doing speeches. They just want to have fun, get together, have fun, and build that friendship. So I tried everything and didn't work.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case with some of the clubs that are struggling a little. Is they've kind of evolved to be more social clubs rather than educational clubs. And as unfortunate as that is, and frustrating as it is, there's not much we can do. We can't really. You can lead the horse to water, as they say, but you can't make them drink.
That's right.
And that's much the case with coaching. It can be an amazing experience, very rewarding to see a club turn right around. It can also be a huge challenge and a lot of frustration, because they need to vote to accept you in, and with that, it should indicate that they're willing to accept help. But unfortunately, I don't know that all are really looking for help. They just want to be told that they're doing everything right. And unfortunately, if your club is in that position, you're probably not doing something right. And it doesn't mean that you're doing it purposely wrong. It just means that maybe there's an area that could be addressed that will help the club. So Celine, in your case, I know that you'll certainly get a distinguished Toastmaster award via probably a new club. I know you're helping out this year with new clubs, so we'll make sure to get something started and have you involved, and make sure you get the credit.
Okay.
Yeah, there'll be lots of opportunities there.
Thank you. Thanks.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, I wish we had more time. I hate to say goodbye to everybody, but I do want to thank you so much for your participation today in the Seminar Sunday, and for the rest, for the whole year, as a matter of fact. And I wish you best of luck in getting the Distinguished Toastmaster Award in the traditional program, or if you're not going for it, in supporting others in achieving that goal.
And Michael, I want to thank you for having completed at least 44 seminars, recorded 44 seminar Sundays in the past Toastmaster year. That is an amazing effort and great results. Thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you, sir. And I guess I'd love to say I'll go to bed, but I got to go to another call now. So
Thank you, Michael.
thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot.
Michael. Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Nice working with you all. Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.